Warning, the following content is not politically correct. Viewer discretion is advised.
So welcome back to the channel today, everyone. I'm Sarah Higdon. This is Transformative Freedom. Now, obviously, this is a pre-recorded episode of the show. We're not live tonight. It's not even going to be a full episode. I just wanted to come in and talk about the current MAGA Civil War apparently taking place. Now, I don't actually think it's necessarily a civil war between MAGA. I do think that it is a concerted effort to break apart the coalition that we've been seeing built, that we've talked about quite a bit on this show. The coalition that brings together people like RFK Jr., who is a former Democrat, and Tulsi Gabbard, who is an anti-war veteran, ran for office in 2020 as a Democrat, as well as people like Vivek Ramaswamy, who is more liberty-leaning, more libertarian-leaning, brings people like Elon Musk together into the Trump circle. It's this conglomerate of MAGA, Maha, the anti-war, liberty people. There's a lot that are going on within this coalition, and so of course there's going to be some disagreements. I didn't think that we would be getting the disagreements and the people on the right trying to cancel so many people this early, but we've seen it a few times now, and so it's really going to be hard because we see how this is progressing forward, right? So 2 weeks in a row, there has been a concerted effort to divide the people within the coalition. Last week, it was over the budget, right? We talked about the budget, the 3 different budget bills, the people, attacking people like Chip Roy from Texas, Trump going after people like Chip Roy for not wanting to pass a increase of the national debt. And so where do we land? We land with Mike Johnson basically going to Democrats and getting full Democrat support for a big increase in the budget, but it did not pass the debt limit ceiling to raise the debt limit. So that fight's going to be coming. But then we have, and I don't know how this all started. There was a fight over H-1B visas. H-1B visas, when you look at what they're supposed to, the requirements are supposed to be had for H-1B visas, you're supposed to have a college degree, and the job is supposed to pay equal or more than that you would be paying for an American citizen. But it's a visa for people to come in overseas. From the beginning, everybody's been pretty consistent that the H-1B system is being abused, and nobody agrees with that abuse. But most people I saw a lot of this where people are posting these screenshots, and then they're taking the screenshots out of context. And it's mostly been directed at Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, who just so happen to be, tasked to lead the Doge initiative, or the Department of Government Efficiency. So it started with Elon Musk, and then Vivek jumped in and was talking a little bit now too. There was a point where somebody came in and said, somebody made a comment to Elon that said, Elon said something, and the person about H-1B visas, and the person said, why argue with something when it's not even when it shouldn't even exist? The clip that everybody took out was Elon saying, here, let me pull this up. Okay. So a lot of people went in and they said, they took this screenshot that I'm showing you right now that basically says, the reason I'm in America all along with so many critical people that built SpaceX, Tesla, and hundreds of other companies that made America strong is because H-1B. Take a big step back, fuck yourself in the face, and I will go to war this issue, which of the likes of which you cannot possibly comprehend. Now that is a quote from what movie was that they said? A lot of people were saying he was quoting Tropic Thunder, right? So that's the thing. So people clipped that and said he's going off the deep end. But now, when you actually look again into context, Elon said stop trying to optimize something that shouldn't exist. This person says stop trying to optimize something that shouldn't exist. Let's optimize H-1B. Like that is some sort of contradictory. He's basically saying that H-1B shouldn't exist. Elon shouldn't be here. Honestly, this is what people don't really understand is Melania Trump had 5 H-1B visas before she got her other, the special visa that she had gotten. And J.D. Vance's parents were here on, in-laws, J.D. Vance's in-laws were here on HB1 visas or H-1B visas. And so was Vivek Ramaswamy's parents were here on H-1B visas as well before they came here. So this is a little bit personal. I understand why somebody like Elon would be, taking this a little bit personally when somebody says that he shouldn't be here because the visa that he came here on is not valid. Now, again, everybody has said that there is an issue with the system, but nobody wants to go and say, oh, there's an issue with that. Nobody's looking at the nuance. They're looking at this and saying they're melting down. And a lot of people are saying that there's no hope for them. You can't come back from this. And I think a lot of that is bot farming. That's kind of how Twitter has been, or X has been working a little bit. So these bot farms, and actually, I mean, when it was even previous Twitter, these bot farms get there and they make it seem like there's more controversy, there's more people against that person than there is. But if you want to know, so here's what got people, and really is what has upset most people about what Vivek Ramaswamy has said. He said the top reason tech companies often hire foreign-born and first-generation engineers over Native Americans isn't because of an innate American IQ or lazy IQ deficit, a lazy or wrong explanation. A key part of it comes down to the C word, culture. Tough questions demand tough answers. And if we are truly serious about fixing the problem, we have to confront the truth. Our American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long, at least since the 90s and likely longer. That doesn't start in college, it starts young. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champion and the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. A culture that venerates Corey from Boy Meets World or Zach and Slater and over Screech and Saved by the Bell or Stefan over Steve Urkel and Family Matters will not produce the best engineers. I know multiple sets of immigrant parents in the 90s who actively limited how much their kids could watch those TV shows precisely because they were promoted mediocrity. And their kids went on to become wildly successful STEM graduates. More movies like Whiplash, fewer reruns of Friends, more math tutoring, fewer sleepovers, more weekend science competitions, fewer. Let's see, just keep moving on. Most normal American parents look skeptically at those kinds of parents. More normal American kids view those kinds of kids with scorn. If you grow up aspiring normalcy is what you will achieve. Now close your eyes and visualize which families you knew in the 90s who raised their kids according to one model versus another. Be brutally honest. No, so he kind of goes on to this. He says, that's the work we have cut out for us. Rather than wallowing in victimhood, I just wish alternative hiring practices into existence. I'm confident we can do it. In a lot of ways, Vivek is right here. we do have a cultural issue in the United States. And now, is it an issue of celebrating the sports athlete over the valedictorian per se? No, but it's the nerds in the U.S. have not been celebrated. They've been seen as weak. We've also seen. I mean, how many movies growing up did you watch where somebody from an Asian country, because the stereotype for Asian immigrants is that their kids are demanding, like those parents demand excellence out of their children. Sometimes, and most of the times when it's seen like in movies and stuff like this, it's often portrayed as to a detriment to the child, to the individual, right? So you'll see a person that wants the child or the teen or whatever wants to go off to college, and they want to study art, or they want to study something that's not becoming a doctor or a lawyer or any or working in STEM fields. Like, those are the only options to be seen as successful in some of these families, and that is a cultural thing. It's a cultural stereotype for those areas, but it's not one without some merit. We don't see that within a lot of American other households. We don't see that and usually, like Vivek says, it's generally first and second generation that come here, because by the third generation they've assimilated into more this Americanized culture. Now, I think that one thing that Americans generally succeed in is highlighting the sports athlete is okay, because sports promote a lot of different they promote winning, they promote excellence, they promote that hard work pays off, they promote all that stuff. But at the same time, we are not building people to go into STEM fields from a very young age. Some of it is our education system, but a lot of it is just the culture we celebrate here. And I'm not saying everything that Vivek said is right. I think that we have a lot of different views on this, but I wanted to highlight this. Where is this post? I wanted to highlight one of the responses to Vivek's post from Tyler Winklevoss. And if you know who the Winklevoss twins are, they were the ones that helped start Facebook with Zuckerberg, and there was the whole movie called The Social Network, and they were featured. They were the twins that sued Zuckerberg for it. But Tyler, I mean, he goes into this and explains how he agrees with Vivek. He said, "This rings very true. Cameron and I grew up playing classical piano and entering recitals where you'd be judged on your performance pieces by Chopin, Beethoven, Bach, Mozart, Schubert. When we check in at the recital, they think we were lost because we were pretty much the only white non-first generation Americans there. Almost all the other participants were sons and daughters of APAC immigrants. I've heard before that Sony, a Japanese company, made the play length of a CD 74 minutes so it could fit Beethoven's Ninth Symphony on one CD instead of two. In America, we talk about 10,000 hours as the time it takes to master your craft. In Japan, that's rookie. They talk about 30,000 hours. All of this is culture. It's what cultural values and what it rewards. No culture fosters more creativity, innovation, and better risk-taking than American culture. And that is true. I want to point that out because this is a highlight of positive aspects of the American culture that you get here. So that's why we have the best builders, produce the best companies in the world. If we place as much emphasis on STEM, chess, classical music, and other highly technical and intellectual pursuits for kids early on, and reward and praise the kids who excelled in these areas as much as we do those who excel in sports, celebrity, and influence, I think our culture would be much stronger and unbeatable. This is our choice as a country and a culture to make. he's right. It doesn't mean we don't have to celebrate sports athletes as much, but I would say that a lot of times celebrities, we put way too much emphasis on celebrity in and of itself anyways. We don't, nowadays with the social media, everybody wants to be an internet sensation, right? And it's that's getting and people are wanting to, you know, be quote unquote influencers rather than go into highly technical STEM fields, or even go into trade schools, like go into trades and everything like that. So our culture is shifting. And now a lot of people would say, and somebody said, why don't you build a school? And Elon Musk said, well, if you need a school to teach you how to do it, then you're already behind, because he's absolutely right. You have to have a passion to want to go into these fields in the first place. The kids that are good at like STEM and all this stuff are the ones that took their parents' computers apart when they were children just to see how it worked. Like that is what you need to be able to produce and to be able to excel in these types of fields. You have to have a passion for it from very early on. And a lot of people would say, well, we have to change our culture. We should hire Americans and we should teach Americans to do this stuff. Well, changing culture takes time, right? I mean, how long have we been fighting to change the culture in like gender ideology, for example? We've been fighting against gender ideology for quite some time, and we still haven't. We're barely shifting the needle back, and we're finally starting to win, but it's taken 4 or 5 years just to shift the culture. And you're talking about changing the culture of a generation, because you're talking about needing to start fostering creativity from a very young age in a lot of these kids that show creative, you know, fields. And we're starting to see, like, there's schools out there like this is why our one size fits all public school system is trash, because we place people in these little schools and little boxes, and we don't allow them to kind of jump out and then to explore what they're actually passionate about, what they're actually good at. And that's where like school choice would come in and fix a lot of these scenarios. And it's interesting because like Vivek kind of came back and he showed again. Somebody was like, in a previous interview, Vivek came out against H-1B. So here,
which 70% of it is given to Indian people. I also believe that your company hired employees on this visa. So why are you turning your back on the Indian community, man?
So I got two answers for you. Thank you for the question. First of all, a lot of the people who have come here through the H-1B system would tell you, as I would, that it's just a broken system no matter who you're seeking to serve. For example, you want to talk about special interests and lobbying? This is direct Silicon Valley lobbying that said that if you get your H-1B visa and you're hired by one company, you're effectively like a slave. You can't switch to a different company. That's not a free labor market. So there's so much that's broken and bureaucratized. Here's the next question about the H-1B visa system: is why the heck do we do it on the basis of a lottery when you could actually just select the very best people? So there's a lot that's broken about the administrative state, the bureaucracy. My general approach is when something's broken in government, you can't really fix it when it's lasted that long. You need to shut it down, start with a blank slate, and rebuild from scratch. And that's just a stylistic point that I've applied to this issue as to any other. Let me say a word about immigration policy more generally, though. You could imagine an immigration system that selects for the smartest people to come to the US. You could imagine an immigration system that selects for the ones who are going to work the hardest. You could imagine an immigration system that selects for those who love the United States or know the most about the United States or speak the best English. You could imagine any of those, and we could have a debate which of those is the right immigration system to have. Turns out none of those is the quality that our current immigration system rewards. If I have to ask you, it'd be a hard one for you to guess, but I'll give you a chance. What do you believe is the number one human attribute that our current immigration system actually selects for?
This guy next to me just said nationality, but I also just wanted to say really quick.
So I'll give you the answer to the question. I wrote a book about this. It just came out last month. The number one attribute that our current U.S. immigration selects for is your willingness to lie to the U.S. government. Because if you're somebody coming from another country and you say that I can't seek asylum or say I'm seeking asylum because I'm not facing a bodily threat based on my own race or religion, the qualities required for actual seeking asylum, then you don't get in the country. But if you show up at the southern border and check that box as you're instructed to by the cartels, whether or not you're actually facing that level.
All right, so he's talking about illegal immigration now. So his response to this was, yeah, I've said countless times in the last 2 years, and I'll say it again, the H-1B system is badly broken. It should be replaced with one that focuses on selecting the very best, not a lottery, pro-competitive, not indentured servitude. So you can either, he believes, but his initial point was not wrong either. The system may be broken, and you may need to fix it. That's the whole point of the issue. We need to fix the broken system. But more so, I saw something this week that really started to make more sense. Nikki Haley came out. This really started to trigger some of those feelings. But let me just say, again, a lot of people were calling this an op, and I do believe that there was an op. And I don't believe that Nikki Haley was in on the op to try to divide the coalition, but I do think she was opportunistic because she wants to divide the coalition. So she jumped out and said, well, first she said, there's nothing wrong with American workers or American culture. All you have to do is look at the border and see how many want what we have. We should be investing and prioritizing Americans, not foreign workers. Investing, let's talk about this. Investing means spending more money, spending more of our tax money to go to investing on people. Instead of changing the culture, she wants to spend more money to send people to school and not send them to universities to study this stuff, rather than change the culture, rather than acknowledge that there's a cultural basis at play as well. She thinks that you can solve it by sending money at it. This is a typical neocon response, and one that I would expect from her. Then she goes on to say, I've been a conservative my entire life. I was a 2-term Tea Party governor and was proud to serve in the Trump's first administration. And you are surprised that I'm to the right of the guys who were a couple of days ago. See, now this is where the concern we should have are the liberal Democrats who are trying to move their own agenda and disguise themselves as conservatives. So now she's going on the attack again. This is her trying to drive a wedge between Donald Trump, Vivek, and Elon. But let's make something clear about this. Nikki Haley is a snake in the grass. And again, she doesn't want to change American culture. She doesn't want to acknowledge that we do to the detriment, right, we have good times in the US. So it's the old good times create weak people. Weak people create bad times create strong people create good times. Well, the problem is when you come from a culture that is not having the good time that we are, and we are very beneficial in the United States, that we can live the lives that we want, that we don't have to go into, we're not forced into STEM fields, we're not forced into I can sit here and talk to you on a Monday night because this is what we do, right? So we have it very good. We have she's not talking about the culture of freedom. People that come here, they come here because they want our freedom. They want the freedom to choose. But promoting children being going into the arts and that type of culture is also still promoting the freedom to choose. There is no disconnect between what, American culture and saying that we have a cultural issue. Vivek did not condemn and say that we need to change our culture. Well, maybe he did. I don't know. He's pointing out to the fact that our culture does not promote this stuff, and it doesn't. Again, like you see in movies, it's usually the person that has the situation always goes one way, where the parents are trying to force a child into a field that he doesn't want to be in. It's not his passion. And then he goes by the end of the movie to, work on, push to follow his dreams type situation. Like that's what we see in our movies and cultures. And it generally only goes one way. I wouldn't say that I think that our culture should be, yes, we should promote freedom, the freedom to choose, but there's a choice between putting your kids in classical music and putting your kids in sports. And I think you just have to know your kid as well. So I don't think that there's any miscommunication there. But again, I think Nikki Haley is just a snake in the grass that's she's part of this concerted effort. Again, last week it was people condemning the Freedom Caucus members for not voting for massive spending bills. This week they're attacking the Doge community. All of those are two groups that want to lessen the spending in the United States, and Nikki Haley wants to spend more. And this issue is one that she actually sided with on the campaign trail. If you don't remember, she sided with Vivek and Elon back on the campaign trail. Listen to what she said.
So for too long, Republican and Democrat presidents dealt with immigration based on a quota. We'll take X number this year, we'll take X number next year. The debate is on the number. It's the wrong way to look at it. We need to do it based on merit. We need to go to our industries and say, what do you need that you don't have? So think agriculture, think tourism, think tech. We want the talent that's going to make us better. Then you bring people in that can fill those needs. So for too long, Republican and Democrat presidents.
So she basically contradicted what she said right here, right? That we should we should prioritize American, not foreign workers. So what is it? Do we go to industry and see what they need and bring in the top talent that they want? Or do we invest in American workers and just put money into it? See, Nikki speaks out of both sides of her mouth. Now, this issue was obviously it rained for a while, but then 3 days this one went on with people going back and forth, and I think it's fractured a lot of relationships on the right. And again, I think we're heading for a disasterful midterm where we're going to lose because we can't seem to agree on anything. Now, that's what's going to happen when you have a coalition of people that vehemently disagree on many issues. They say we can have conversations now, but it does seem to be like people just want to. Now it's attack. And now some of the attack again is probably just bots and stuff like that. But Trump came out and finally made the statement. He settled it. And to the New York Post, he said he supports immigration visas for highly skilled workers. Trump reportedly told the outlet, "I've always liked visas. I have always been in favor of these visas. That's why we have them. I have many H-1B visas on my property. I've been a believer in H-1B. I've used it many times. It's a great program." So that obviously stemmed a lot of the conversation with people yelling back and forth. Most people are now just going to go back and kind of ended the issue. It ended a lot of the debate in the back and forth because a lot of these people that are super Trump loyalists are not going to now attack what Trump said. Some did, but here's what John Cardillo said. So I'll leave this right here and you decide for yourself. So this was back in 2016. He said, I remain totally committed to eliminating rampant, widespread H-1B abuse and ending outrageous practices such as those that occurred at Disney in Florida when Americans were forced to train their foreign replacements. I will forever end the use of H-1Bs as cheap labor program and institute absolute requirements to hire American first workers, no exceptions. Trump supports immigration visas backed by Musk. I have many H-1Bs. Okay, so he's trying to make it seem like there's a conflict there. So these statements don't actually contradict, right? Everybody here thinks the system needs to be reformed. Trump vowed to reform the system in the first place, but he still doesn't think that. He still likes the system. He still likes to bring in immigrants. He still wants the system there. He's not contradicting himself. In fact, this is what he said before.
Otherwise, I wouldn't promise. Let me just tell you that it's so sad when we lose people from Harvard, MIT, from the greatest schools and lesser schools that are phenomenal schools also. And what I wanted to do, and I would have done this, but then we had to solve the COVID problem because that came in and, sort of dominated for a little while, as you perhaps know. But what I want to do and what I will do is you graduate from a college, I think you should get automatically as part of your diploma a green card to be able to stay in this country. And that includes junior colleges too. Anybody graduates from a college, you go in there for 2 years or 4 years. If you graduate or you get a doctorate degree from a college, you should be able to stay in this country. And you know more stories than I do, but I know of stories where people graduated from a top college or from a college and they desperately wanted to stay here. They had a plan for a company, a concept, and they can't. They go back to India, they go back to China, they do the same basic company in those places, and they become multi-billionaires employing thousands and thousands of people, and it could have been done here. And a bigger example is you need a pool of people to work for your companies. You have great companies, and they have to be smart people. Not everybody can be less than smart. You need brilliant people. And we force the brilliant people, the people that graduate from college, the people that are number one in their class from the best colleges, you have to be able to recruit these people and keep the people. It was such a big deal. Somebody graduates at the top of the class. They can't even make a deal with the company because they don't think they're going to be able to stay in the country. That is going to end on day one.
So this should have come as no surprise that Trump was going to go this route. Okay. It really shouldn't have, because he's been very, very vocal about, liking immigrants, wanting immigrants. And he makes a good point in this too. Like, if you want to expand, so if I wanted to open up a business, I wanted to open up a tech field business, and I wanted to hire people, like, you have to have workers. You can't just throw people in there that don't know what they're doing. There's only a finite number of workers. And I think, honestly, we should want to hoard the best and the brightest. And again, maybe that's not what the H1B system is right now, but that's what we should want. We should, regardless of anything else, we should be a meritocracy here in the United States. And if you are simply saying that if you want to lower the standards so that American workers can get the jobs that they're not qualified for, yet other immigrants might be qualified for them, then that is a version of DEI. The equity part, that is equity simply for American workers just to hire American. And I think we need to acknowledge that as well. I think we need to allow for the best and brightest. And, when you start expanding your economy, you're going to need more workers. You're going to need more high-skilled workers than what you can even send through college. So I think Trump makes a good point there. Now, on to the last thing, and this isn't to do with the immigration stuff. This is actually more to do with what came out right before I filmed this. So we've been having the fight. We saw the fight, the battle with the budget a couple weeks ago, last week. And unfortunately, I think the next fight now is Speaker Johnson's position. Before we came out here, I think this is going to start to split people even more. Donald Trump has endorsed Mike Johnson as the Speaker of the House and doesn't think that we should change. Now, so in this, he says, we're the party of common sense, blah, 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 blah. He's talking about all the accomplishments. He's talking about all his political accomplishments. and then says, let's not blow this great opportunity which we have been given. The American people need immediate relief from all of the destructive policies of the last administration. Mike Johnson is a good, hardworking, religious man. He will do the right thing. He will continue to win. Mike has my complete and total endorsement. I disagree. I think that he will be a disaster. He is a disaster of a Speaker of the House. He's more willing to work with Democrats than get the consensus of Republicans. I think that he is a yes man, and it shows that it's Thomas Massey today also pointed out that this is very much like when Donald Trump supported Paul Ryan for Speaker of the House as well. There's a lot that's starting to happen that is its history starting to repeat itself. Paul Ryan was an awful Speaker of the House who, with Trump, passed massive spending bills. And so again, it's hard to see if anything's really going to change. I talked about this last week. It's hard to see, are things really going to change? I mean, if Mike Johnson's the Speaker of the House, it's not really going to change that much. I think that you're still going to see probably massive spending bills. Again, it's not the small government principles that we had wanted. And like I said, Trump has 2 years, and we're setting ourselves up to be hurt big time in the midterms with the division. And so what's going to happen in the first 2 years with Mike Johnson at the helm? It doesn't make me hopeful. It's more blackpilling on the situation, but we'll see. Honestly, the most optimistic thing I can think of in this scenario, in this situation, is he's only endorsing Mike Johnson because the Speaker vote is on the 3rd. They certify the votes on for the election on the 6th. And then after that, they can request a removal of Speaker or a vote for Speaker. And so maybe he just wants to get inaugurated before they remove Mike Johnson. That's the only positive thing that I can think that he might be doing. But history doesn't show that that's the way that Donald Trump thinks about these things. I think that he wants a yes man that's going to push everything that he wants. So we'll see. We'll see. Again, Trump has a great cabinet. He has great people around him this time around. Some duds that I don't like, but he has a lot. He has a lot better shot at doing the stuff that we elected him to do this time around than he did in his first term. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed that this isn't a sign of things to come, that massive spending bills are going to be on their way in this next term. Let's hope. But with that, again, thank you all for joining. We will see you guys after the new year, and I hope you guys have a happy new year. Have some fun. And we will, if you haven't already, click that like, subscribe button. Follow me across all social media platforms, and I will see you next time.